So, what's the pup scene like here in San Francisco? Because this would be the mecca of pup play, surely.
Well, it waxes and wanes like any community. So way back when Spunky was the one who created the San Francisco Canine unit, him and JP founded it. Mm-hmm. And then JP moved on and Spunky continued it with his support of his family and stuff. Mm-hmm. So back then it was just a few pups, and they met, and then I think they met at Daddy John's living room and did chaotic, crazy puppy things there, and then from there it evolved to mini golf and Adventureland and Great Lakes amusement park and monthly outings, and through that more and more people slowly knew about it, and the group grew, and they got a little bit more formalized, and then it evolved into that canine unit.
Yep.
And then, like anything, we started doing monthly moshes, and then attendance kind of waxed and waned, so we did bi-month, every other month, then quarterly, and then twice a year. And people's interest, I think, change and go. So for a while it was really strong, and then like this last year kind of was not so much, but now it's starting to kick in again.
Because when you look at the data, I'm a data person, so I'm always going to be looking at how many people are searching for pup play, and the numbers have just been going exponentially since, say, 2012. It really has risen. What would you attribute that to?
The internet.
The internet? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, being able to find, puppy play, and then Google brings up hundreds of sites and blogs and porn videos and just imagery, and now with mass media marketing, I mean, you find it in all streamlined mainline advertising now that they're they're latching onto the puppy scene and just like, oh, okay, do they realize what they're doing? But I think that's what it is I mean, it's the internet that continues to make it more accessible to Joe Hoboco in nowhere, Ohio, and I'm the only one in a town of 500, can go online and see that he's not the only one. He might be the only one in his little proximity, but he's not the only one in the world now.
So, groups like Puppy 101, groups like, there's so many Facebook groups based around human pup play that it's not hard to find kindred spirits.
Correct. So again, with social media, and I'd say especially Facebook, maybe FetLife a little bit, that seems more heterosexual, but social media especially definitely brought puppy play to the forefront. It made it easier and more accessible, and puppies are generally social anyway, so I think they always gravitate towards social groups, social activities, social functions. So.
It's interesting that you say that, because the first pup play video I found online was a woman walking a pup on all fours around on a rooftop. That was the only video.
Way back when,
right? Since then, there's been a slight change in the environment on YouTube. These videos, of course, contribute to that, but my memory of early pup days was it was the Wolf Book, or it was that was it.
It was Wolf by Michael Daniels, if I remember correctly, or Gurr. And of course, Gurr was just short stories, so it was kind of. But yeah, it was just Wolf. That was it. And I don't agree with everything that was in the Wolf Book. I mean, it was good for what it was. I didn't always agree with everything in it, but that's what we had. And then at the same time, the only other website, actually there was a couple. There was, I think it was called Leather Dog. But then when I want to say Patrick, I don't know if it was Patrick Chase. Anyway, I think he died, boy Patrick.
Okay.
And so that website kind of just faded. But the other website that was kind of new at the time was Pup Zone.
Yeah.
And that was really the only, I think, really two. There might have been Doghouse. Oh, it's the Europe version. There was a European version.
There was a German one.
Was it German?
Well, I remember that.
So there was another one. There's at the time there's only 3 sites.
Yeah.
And but for America, Pup Zone was it. That was the big site ever. That's when everyone joined and communicated, and Stomper. Stomper's the one who him and his partner came up with it and did it, and that's how a lot of the people met each other, was through Pup Zone. We got the word out, like meet here, chat here, exchange ideas here.
Yeah. And at that time, it was a unified direction, I think, because when you're a small group of people, you kind of all have to face one way to be able to meet and to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And some would say that the pup community is, well, it's a different community. It's not leather-based anymore. There's a number of influences now.
There is. I mean, I have to admit, back then it was more leather-based. I mean, we had some rubber pups, and there was probably furries. It was just, again, I think it was that, my observation, more underground, like, I'm a pup and a furry, but not until the explosion of crossovers and everything came to where now we have rubber pups and diaper pups and furries, and I mean, just, these past years, it just keeps exploding and getting bigger, and the crossovers are just happening all over the place.
With that in mind, what do you think is the biggest challenges in the pup community at the moment?
Biggest challenges? Acceptance, I think, is probably the biggest challenge right now, because I think we're getting some backlash now because of the growth and explosion of the growth. That because it's, in some aspects, it's still new, and like with anything new, there is a little roughening of the edges, a little fine tuning. So example was last year at Claw, we had a few bad apples, bad dogs that kind of tarnished puppy image, puppy name, because they're like, I'm a puppy and I can do whatever I want, I can misbehave, and it's like, no, you're a responsible adult. You're still an adult. You may be a puppy, but you're still a human thinking adult, and you can't just wipe it under the table like, I'm a puppy, and that just excuses all bad behaviors. And so I think that's the thing, is acceptance, because you have these different groups like not understanding what we are, what we're about, and so trying to get their acceptance of us, of how we do things, of our traits and characteristics, and accepting our view on collars and our view on protocols and our views of, hey, don't touch our tails, don't pull our tails, don't just come up and manhandle us. It's
almost like we need to move towards a pup protocol, really, that it isn't acceptable to pull on somebody's tail, because it can cause a medical injury.
Depending if it's an insertable or not. Because now with the show tails that attach to belts, that's not as much of an issue compared to the insertables. But still, they still pull on it. I mean, I still have people constantly pull on this, and I'm just like, excuse me, what are you doing? Do you like it when I grab your crotch, without permission? Well, then respect my personal space.
Do you think it's because, now this is kind of interesting, because within the scene, like in a leather scene or a bear scene or whatever scene, it's so unusual that people don't know how to do this. Like, you wouldn't grab a bio pup's balls and not expect to get growled at or bitten, but people might get touchy-feely with a pup in a bar and then get surprised when people get angry.
I think they do. I mean, because I've actually asked a couple of people, after, why did you do that? Just because I was, why'd you touch me? And I couldn't resist. It was so cute. It's irresistible. So for them, I guess they see something that's, well, for us, perhaps we would say shiny. Oh, shiny. It's irresistible. But they see something that it's unique and different. They're like, oh, I want to touch. I want to feel. I want to. Yeah. So I get the idea of why they want to touch the tail, because it's like, this is strange. What is this? And a lot of humans are very tactile, and they want to touch because then they can identify, associate. And so I get the idea of why they want to touch. I just wish they would have respect, which I've had to have people come up to me, which is nice to say, hey, can I touch your tail? Sure. Thank you for asking. But the ones that just come out and touch or grab or do things,
Yeah, and they're probably not just touching and grabbing pups. They're probably doing it to a lot of different people.
Correct. So a lot of it, I think, it's education. It's just, you just have to keep educating people that, hey, that's not cool, that's not okay.
Yeah, and I wonder, part of the role of, if you are going to take a different stance within a community, is that you can help educate the community at the same time.
I think people should. Anytime an incident happens, they should try and take those few moments to educate that, and hopefully that ripple effect will happen of, hopefully while you're educating this person, these two people are eavesdropping or listening, and or he'll tell his friend, oh, hey, don't do that or something.
Or if you're with a group of pups and one person's particularly rowdy and knocks somebody's drink over, maybe it's time to say, you know what, that was a little bit rude. Why don't you go and buy that person another drink and apologise?
I mean, I hate to say, but yes, I think maybe we need to help self-police a little bit, just because it's not, again, just because you go into a puppy headspace doesn't mean you forget your humanity, but at the same time, you're still human. There's still things of common courtesy and manners and respect. And if I expect these people in the kink community to treat me with respect, well, then I need to give them respect back.
Absolutely.
And so we can't keep asking them to, hey, acknowledge us, respect us, and yet we turn around and disrespect them. So. Absolutely.
And I think that because of the influx, that the elders of the community, it's almost as like there's too many, the ratio between elders who pass on the law, and that's L-O-R-E, not L-A-W, the law of pup play, they are overwhelmed by the huge amount of new pups that are present, that it's difficult to pass this information on.
Well, it is. It's hard to pass it on. I mean, we try and put it down in writing, we try and put it on websites, we try and do presentations, but at the same time, again, my observations, you can pass on some lore, but then just like in the leather community where they had the old guard lore, like the Bible, I hate to say, but it gets mutated through word of mouth. So what we may present as lore from our experiences, and I've presented some stuff where, like, months later, I will hear somebody say, oh, well, blah, 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 said that. I'm like, it's not what I said. I said this, but you've twisted it to make it your lore, to make it fit your, however you want to make it fit. And again, that's human nature. It's that whole start with one person, say a sentence, and 10 people down the line, it's totally different what you say.
It's one of the, it's constantly evolving, and I think that, like consent, it's an evolving process, and we need to keep on coming back to it and reviewing it and going, well, is this good or is this bad? So, for example, there are a lot of younger pups who might be wearing collars that have prongs on it, or they think it's a really hot and sexy idea to wear an electro collar. Now, I come from a medical perspective, and I know how dangerous that is, that an electro collar around the neck could kill somebody.
And it hurts like a motherfucker.
I can imagine.
I get personal experience.
And I really worry about people who get into those sort of predicaments. What would you say to a young pup who's just fresh to the scene? Where should they start? Where should they go? For
education, experience?
I think it's a holistic thing, really, isn't it? How do they learn the pup, the inner pup, and explore?
Well, like the other day, I had somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, I've learned about this. I'm just learning about this pup thing, and I hear you're the person to talk to. And so, am I pup or handler?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, can you tell me which one I am?" I'm like, "This is not like Hogwarts where I'm going to put a sorting hat on you and suddenly you're a pup or you're a handler, whatever it determines." I said, "You have to explore this. You have to, go to a mosh or go to a presentation or go down on all fours and try it, or find a human pup and try handling." It's whatever resonates with you is how you will discover how you are. So how do you explore or find a pup play? I mean, so way back, decades and decades and centuries ago, when I was doing this, there was none. And I just did it through research. I mean, I looked through books. I looked through dog breed books. I looked through and read psychology books on the human mind, on canine psychology. I just went and researched I would get a better understanding of how dogs think, how packs work, how trainers train. I love to read, so I just kept reading. And from all that reading and research, I took what worked and applied to me, and I just left the rest, So that's why I guess I encourage people to do is just research, and if you can explore, trying to find my bark. I don't know what fours, and I got in front of a mirror, and I looked, and I was just like, ruff, ruff, arr, I'm like, oh, I feel stupid. This is so stupid. But I made myself do it so I could watch my reaction, see how I looked, and then sound. And then as I got more confident, I would be in the car, and I'd be like driving along, and I would be like, ruff, 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 ruff. I'd just be barking and growling.
Because it's theatrical. It's a theatre piece, and I think you have to buy into that, and you have to accept that it is inherently silly for an adult to be down on their knees with a tail perhaps up their ass, pretending to be a dog. It's fun, it's silly, and if you can buy into that and really throw yourself behind the role, then you can have a great time, and you can get that release, that nirvana of the pup zone that everybody talks about.
You can, and also it's different for everyone. Some people go into the pup space to find their animal spirit. They're spiritual about their journey. Some people do it for, as you said, the release. I don't want to worry about bills, job. I just want to live in the moment. They want to be present oriented. Some people do it as a relaxation, a kind of a cardio relaxation. This is, you do yoga, I do pup play. Everyone has different reasons why they do it. But find the reason that works for you.
So why do you do it?
Why do I do it? Well, way back when why I did it, because it was fun. It just reminded me of being a kid again. I loved playing. I loved romping. I loved the interaction and social, and I felt like I was a kid again. No cares, no worries. I'm a dog. I was revisiting my childhood fond memories, and something in me just connected, and time would go by, and it'd be like, what do you mean 3 hours just went by? What? It was just 5 minutes ago. And so that's the beginning for me. And again, when I try and encourage people, you're going to feel silly. You're going to feel stupid. That's normal. That's natural. Go with it.
Yep.
Just you learn. It becomes more comfortable and second nature from doing it. And so in the beginning, like I said, there's only a few of us, and it was kind of silly. But and I tell people when they come to Wolf Camp at IML or Wolf Camp Weekend or any of the moshes I've ever done, watch and observe. And I will guarantee you, halfway through, you're going to want to get on down on all fours, and you're going to want to try it. And I will guarantee you, in 5 minutes after you getting that mosh, you're going to throw yourself fully into it, and you're going to come afterwards, and you're going to go, oh my God, that was the most amazing experience I've ever had. I will guarantee, I've never had a person not come up to me and say, thank you for making me do that. Oh my God, that was amazing.